the Overman Warrior Podcast.
Hi, Rich Hoffman here. We'll talk about these Trump appointees, Kristi Noem, one, and paying Bondi for another. You know, if you're not getting the job done, and I think Trump's doing a good job. People have been loyal to him, but it's like any position. If you're not doing a good job, you got to put somebody in there that is doing a good job. And a lot of people like paying Bondi, and she's going to take a private sector job, I guess. Step down as Attorney General. Who knows what kind of conversation that was between her and Trump. But the bottom line is there's a lot of Democrats that have not been prosecuted, and they should be. There's a lot of crimes that have not been committed. Why can't she drag anything over the finish line? Well, there's prosecution that should have happened, and they just didn't. And, you know, this is it's always easy to talk tough. It's hard to actually get in the trenches and do things. And she's pretty good on TV, and she talks a good game, and I think she's smart as an attorney. But how do you move the ball? How do you get things going in the right direction? And then Kristi Noem has been really good, I think. I really like Kristi Noem. I still like Kristi Noem a lot. And I've met Corey Lewandowski. I guess it's well known that he's having an affair or been a sexual partner with Kristi Noem. Doesn't really surprise me much. You know, when you're away from home a lot and you're with people who share your passions, it's real easy, even though it's bad judgment, to do it. Shouldn't do it. It's bad judgment to do it. You should be able to fight off those temptations, but it happens a lot. And now there's an added layer where her husband, Kristi Noem's husband, got caught in some bad stuff on his own. And it's embarrassing that he's been sending pictures of himself to other people, sexually charged things that show himself cross-dressing. I guess it's some kind of big booby fetish or whatever. Not a good thing to do when you're married to the former governor and then the head of Homeland Security. And Kristi Noem, was already coming under fire for a number of things because she puts herself out there. She does a great job marketing herself, and the money she spent on advertising, showing herself riding horses around Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, the cowboy hat. I love that. I think she does a great job marketing herself. And I think she's a good, fantastic person, and I still like her a lot. None of this has changed my opinion about her or Pam Bondi. But Trump has to make moves when people like this get to where they're ineffective or they have policies that you can't defend. And I didn't think the Minnesota policies were bad at all. But Kristi Noem, it's hard to go throw rocks at people in glass houses if there's word out there that you're having an affair with your top aide, Corey Lewandowski. It's a matter of time before it gets out. And of course, why was she doing it? Well, it's hard on a marriage to be gone all the time. It's hard on a marriage to be at the top of the pyramid, like Kristi Noem has been as governor, and then now in this top spot with the Trump administration. Everybody's gunning for you all the time. But then when you get to federal politics and you get all the national, international media looking at you all the time, unlike the local media they find in the state, like South Dakota, she's had her fair share of national media. But when you're a member of the Trump administration, officially, it's a much different animal. So little things that happen are going to get out. And this whole thing with her husband, maybe he's lonely. Maybe she's gone too much. Maybe she's been gone too much. It's been hard on their plus 30-year marriage. If you don't do things together, I've been married almost 40 years. If you don't find something you like to do with your spouse and stick to it and do those things, things can fall apart real quick. And if you're a political addict like Kristi Noem is, and you're always involved in something public public relations wise, it's hard to have an intimate relationship, especially when your kids are grown up and you have grandkids and you're going through those motions, but you're not doing it every day. And to replace that emptiness in your life, you get into politics and you're out there trying to do all the right things, all the good things, but then you got a husband that's lonely, or maybe this whole thing with Corey Lewandowski started because her husband wasn't that interested in her and he wanted to cross-dress and put big boobies on, and that's why she had policies that were maybe a little soft on the transgender issues. Whatever it is, I don't really care regarding her as a person. I think it's tough. You make a decision to get in these things, and you either make your spouse either comes along with you and gets there. He was with her in the court hearing where she had to talk about this relationship with Corey Lewandowski. And again, the times I've met Corey Lewandowski, I get it. He's a very nice, charismatic guy. And when you could share those kinds of passions with somebody else, you got to manage the sexual tension that is a byproduct of the human biology. People do it all the time. They manage it all the time. It's probably easier when people get to be older to withstand those temptations. But if you're going to be at the highest level like this, you gotta perform. You can't get yourself in trouble. You can't have spouses that fall off the radar. And in Pam Bondi's case, you gotta have prosecutions that stick. You've got to go out there and take it to the bad guys. And so far, all the Democrats she's tried to prosecute, and I put Comey in the Democrat category, Letitia James. There's a lot of prosecutions that could happen, and she just hasn't. And she goes on the news and talks about them, and she's, you can believe that she has good intentions, just like you can believe Kristi Noem has good intentions, and they're out there fighting the good fight, trying to do good for everybody. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene comes up, and she was a big supporter, and now she's not, and they fall off the rocker. And there's a lot of people that come and go in a person's life, like Trump. Anytime you're a leader of any kind of organization and you bring people in and everybody's in their honeymoon period and they have great ideas about how things should be done, but then when you actually have to go do them, it's a little harder. And how people hold up under scrutiny has a lot to do with success or failure of a project. And we're a year into it, and neither one of those people were able to do their jobs to the level that is expected of them. The Department of Justice got to prosecute Democrats, and he put some people in jail. And definitely need the people who went after the January 6th people, put them in jail for over a year. And all those that ran that crooked committee, there's nothing's happened to them at all. You see Dan Bongino, he was second in command at the FBI, and he wasn't able to really move the needle, and he got frustrated with the pace of change. Kash Patel's, he's doing a pretty good job, but where are the rest? Where's the prosecutions? Where's the justice? And that's what people are tired of. And Trump looked at people that he likes, and they're in these positions, and they're not getting it done. And you gotta move on. And you certainly can't enforce the border if you're having a sexual relationship with Corey Lewandowski. It just doesn't fit well. It's not above the line. It's not the image that people want to have of the White House. People don't want that. People don't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. And people say, well, Trump's one of the biggest womanizers ever was. I don't think so. I think he's at an age where the Playboy life isn't what it was cut out to be. You get to be a little older, and those things don't matter as much. And he's been married to a good woman. And sometimes it takes a while to learn what that means and figure out how that applies, especially if it's your third wife. But I think he's learned a lot over time. And he's also learned that I don't need an administration that's got these kinds of things in it. And when I find out about them, I personally like the people, but get them off the radar and get them over, do something else. I need people who can handle the pressure under the spotlight. And it's real hard to live. It's easy to dream, and it's easy to talk about what you do if you ever had the opportunity to do it, but it's much harder to do it. And I haven't spoken about the Kristi Noem thing much because I was kind of waiting to see how that all laid out and what her responsibilities were going to be. what Trump would say about it in the aftermath. But then when this thing came out about her husband cross-dressing and putting balloons in to pretend like they're fake boobies and taking pictures and sending them all over the internet, there's a deeper problem there. And the main one is, really, if you're going to do big things in life, you shouldn't be thinking about sex. It goes to the CEO level or any kind of leadership level. You probably shouldn't be out there falling for temptations, showing bad judgment in any direction. You might be justified to do it. Kristi Noem might say, hey, I'm lonely. My husband likes to put balloons in his shirt and dress up and cross-dress. She acted like she was surprised. The family acted like they were surprised. But her husband was doing it on an online forum. And with all the enemies you have out there, who thinks that's a good idea? Doesn't he think people were paying attention? and they're hacking his account? I mean, come on. When you have that big of a radar on you because of who your wife is, you're going to be that reckless? And that just shows a personality. It was dying for self-destruction in order to change his circumstance. And it's an extremely bad judgment. And that means that the family wasn't managed well. And if you can't manage the family well, how can you manage anybody's affairs well? And as far as Homeland Security, how can you be in charge of the security of the nation if word's out that you're having an affair with Corey Lewandowski and there's trouble at home and bad things start happening? I mean, that was the report on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Everybody goes there and they think great things. Laura Boebert. There's a lot of people who come out, Tea Party, MAGA, Super MAGA, and they get to office and they find they can't deal with it. And I'll say this much. And how do I judge people and what goes on? And I refer to people I know. And so why do I like J.D. Vance so much? And why do I like Vivek Ramaswamy so much? But while we're talking about good judgment, good character, why do I like Michael Ryan for Butler County Commissioner so much? I get to know some of these people, and I either like them or I don't. Again, I've met Corey Lewandowski several times. I've met people all around Kristi Noem lots of times, and I kind of understand the circumstance from that level. And I'll tell you what I asked when I first met J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, and a good friend of mine, the great, wonderful Nancy Nix. She said, you got to come over. You'll like this guy, J.D. Vance. I'm like, I don't know. I liked other people at the time who were more Tea Party-ish. And I saw the Hillbilly Elegy and had read the book. And I really wasn't sure what to get out of J.D. Vance. So she invited me to come over. And I had a chance to talk J.D. Vance by Nancy Nix's pool. And I've told that story before. But I don't know that I've said much about what I asked him. So I said to him, you're going to become a senator. You weren't running for Senate at the time. So what are you going to do when you're alone, when you're off at Washington, D.C., you're in your 40s, and how are you going to handle it? How are you going to handle the media attention and the scrutiny? Are you still going to fight for justice, or are you just going to be another one that finds the temptations of K Street too lucrative? And he looked at me, and he was kind of miffed by the question. He didn't like the association because he's a good Christian guy. And I met his wife. She is super nice, super sweet, super solid. And I love her initiative for reading. Those are people who, they mean it. You can look in their eye and tell that they're not going to fall for somebody at a late night dinner when they're a little lonely and their marriages are falling apart. They work together. They keep it together. They have good support from their spouses. And it's certainly the case with Vivek Ramaswamy's wife. Met her too. Super, super nice. Probably nicer than Vivek Ramaswamy. And he's super nice. But why is nice so important? Well, when I talk to these people, and I do ask them in personal circumstances, and I don't usually advertise it too much, but when I get behind a person or a candidate, and that's the same thing with George Lang, Senator George Lang. When I get behind somebody and I stay with them through thick and thin, it's usually because they manage their spousal relationships well. And that's a criteria that I hold people to very rigorously. And if you can't get the job done, or you can't keep your marriage straight, there's something wrong with you. I still might like you. I still want to support you for things. I want to see good things come out of people who want to do good things in life. But when you're in a high office and you're in the Trump administration, and high things are expected out of the Trump administration, you've got to keep a high level of attentiveness to family development, because you can't protect and develop your family. If you can't do a good job with your family, you're not going to do a good job at everything else in life. And that's a discriminatory process that is very healthy. Should we judge? You bet we should judge. Judge, and judge often. Judge bad behavior with good understanding of what good behavior really is. And when I did have a chance to talk to J.D. Vance about it more than once, the temptations of the office when he was trying to convince people like me that I need to get behind him, and he was making his pitch, and there was a lot of people in the field at the time. What was the support mechanism for me? I saw the way his wife looked at him, and I saw the way he treated her when no one was around, when the event that we were at was over, how he interacted with her, how he touched her. You can tell if people really like each other, really love each other. And if they do that, it tells you a lot about what happens when the lights are out at the house and no one's looking and no one knows what's happening. There's no media to report the events. You're sharing bathrooms, you're sharing the bed, you're sharing closets where your clothes are. The kids come and go, need things. And when you can still look at your spouse and really genuinely like them, that's quite a statement, and it means a lot about whether you can trust that person in a public office or not. And again, I think Melania's been great for Trump. I think J.D. Vance has a great wife. Vivek Ramaswamy has a great wife. Michael Ryan in Butler County, Ohio has a great wife. There's a pattern. Senator George Lang, his wife Debbie Lang is a really good person. You can judge a lot by people and how they maintain their home life. And when you can't hold it together, you got to cut them loose, even if you like them. And that's what Trump had to do with Kristi Noem. Still like her and support her. I'm root for her for all the future. I think she probably is devastated. I think the behavior of her husband, it takes two to devolve like that. Probably wasn't like that all his life, or maybe he was. Either way, it's dysfunctional. It's bad house management. And when it gets out like it did, that's a failure of doing the job itself. And Trump made a good call to replace her with somebody else. And same thing with Pam Bondi. Didn't perform the way it's expected to perform as Attorney General, and you had to cut her loose and find someone who will do the job. And that's how the ball bounces. You have to be performance related, and you got to make sure that you're up to the standards that society's judging you on. You got to be able to uphold that judgment. And those who can, we support. Those who can't, you got to cut them and run, and replace them with people who can. It's life in the big leagues. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.
Thank you for listening.